Big
Undertaker.
Wall there. Oh, if we wore black.
She lost.
Yeah.
Bottom line. She lost.
Did she make any money?
Oh, I don't. No, I think she literally got a year's supply of something, but I don't even remember what it was. But no, she didn't go home with much.
Kikkoman soy sauce.
Yeah, something like that. Pampers or something.
Well, TV was certainly great back then, wasn't it?
I know.
Okay, well, anybody have any questions from the audience for our guests? And Mike, do you need this mic? Or,
oversees and puts things in the show, and then it's our job to, I call it when the spirit moves us, to go off script and just have a little bit of fun. There's a temptation sometimes it's to insert in the format of the show, insert funny moment here, and it doesn't work like that. The funny moments, the best moments happen spontaneously when the weather guy says something that is just too easy to pass. It's just, you can't pass it up.
Do you have a goal or mission statement every day you want to provide this, and this to your viewers in the course of each hour or in the course of each show?
There's a format, you know. I mean, you'll notice that, you know, the first block is the serious, it's news of the day, you know, and you'll notice the difference between the 5 a.m. versus the 6 a.m. versus 7 versus the 8 as well. You know, you'll have more hard news at 5 o'clock, more hard news at 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock, that's when the celebrities start waking up and we start having a little bit more fun. But we always, of course, our number one goal is to always get the news of the day out there to the viewers, because we know that's why they're tuning in.
Well,
they know what's going on.
Yeah, and that hour, the most, it's people want to know is my neighborhood safe? Did anything happen really that I need to know about? What's the weather going to be like? And
any delays?
And how's the traffic?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that basically, weather and traffic are hugely important, and obviously the news is important because we're the news department. But you know, the moments and the fun and the levity, you don't even try to script those, they just kind of happen.
Thank you. Who's next? Hello? What's the Y guy really like?
Wrong station. It's okay.
Recently, one of your correspondents went on to Fox News nationally. What was his name?
Casey Siegel.
Casey Siegel,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. And he was Adrian sort of took over the beat reporting from him. Why did he go and you guys haven't gone there, is my question. I mean, nothing against him, but why did he go national and you guys didn't? That's my question.
Well, Casey's so talented. I mean, so talented and so young. And, you know, I think it's hard. I mean, we're kind of at different stages in our lives. You know, he's married and has children and has roots and has a family here and that sort of thing. You know, Casey was kind of the single guy who moved from Indiana and kind of all over the place, and he just wasn't done yet. You know, I think he's 27, 28 years old, and you know, his dream was to kind of make it to the network, and so he was certainly good enough. He's so talented. He's having a wonderful time. We miss him, but we love Adrian. But you know, that was just his dream. You know, and local news versus network news, there are big differences, and there are positives and negatives to both. Casey, I still talk to him, and he doesn't travel as much as some of my other correspondent friends do, but being a correspondent for a network is a really tough life if you want to be home, and if you want to be around your family, and you want to have stability where you are, because you're on the road constantly. You never know where you're going next. You live out of a suitcase, and a lot of these people, they love that. They feed off of that. And at one time in my career, that's what I wanted to do. And I actually had to figure that out during my last contract. You know, what do I want to do? And I realized, you know, eventually I want to have a family. Eventually I want to raise a family, and I want to be there for them. And so that's where what we do is so great, you know, because we're able to be in a wonderful community, not necessarily live in New York City or live out of a suitcase and that sort of thing. So it's kind of to each his own at this point, again, I think.
I had a friend early in my career who was an ABC network camera guy, and it was at the point in my career when I thought, gosh, I so want to be a network correspondent. And I said, so John, you know, John was an older guy. He's probably about how old I am now. John, what's it like working for the network and traveling and going all over the world and covering the most important stories in the world? And he said, Tim, about a month ago, I walked a complete stranger down the aisle and gave her away in marriage. And I went, wow. And Beth and I were just married and, you know, talking about kids, and I thought, gee, and that stuck with me forever and really took that off the table.
Good question. Casey's covering the Academy Awards, by the way, tomorrow. Yeah, he's happy.
I have a two-prong question for Megan. Number one.
I hope they're sharp prongs.
Frequently, media companies have rules, policies about their employees not making public their political affiliation or their political leanings. So the first prong would be, how do you be a responsible and active citizen in your community and still keep a low profile or a no profile? And B, second prong, how do you feel about a woman running for president?
Very good. Those are good questions. Keeping a low profile and being responsible in our community. We're given so many opportunities to give back. I mean, that's one of the best things, I think, about what we do is, you know, I was actually just talking to one of the fine ladies from the Make-A-Wish Foundation here today. We call it charity season right now because all the charity events are kind of starting to come, and a lot of times these folks come to us because they like us to help them out, and I love doing that. It's what I love about this job. I love picking certain causes that mean things near and dear to my heart, and it has nothing to do with my politics. It has to do with, you know, cancer is important to me because my father died of cancer, or the Make-A-Wish Foundation is important to me because I've worked with children in the past and that sort of thing. So it doesn't really become a conflict of interest at all. In terms of journalism and what we do, we always try to stay as balanced and fair and balanced, cliche, as possible, because that's just what we do. That's our job. You know, you have to learn early on to separate how you feel about a situation, for the most part. I mean, you'll tell us what you think of Paris Hilton, easily, and that's okay. But I'm probably not going to tell you what I think about, you know, John McCain, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, that sort of thing. In terms of a woman running for president, I think it's awesome. I mean, it just goes to show how far we've come, where we're going. The fact that we have an African American who's running for president as well, it's wonderful. I mean, I think that it just goes to show that our choices are limited these days, and I think that's a beautiful thing across the board. Did that answer your question? Okay, good. Thank you.
The other thing you do is vote.
Yeah. And you don't have to tell. I always try to, you know, we talk about things behind the scenes, and you know, but we're not going to go and broadcast it because you don't care. You don't care what I think, you know, and you still won't tell me who you're voting for. You won't tell me. I tried, but you still won't tell me, and it doesn't really make a difference. It's important to be educated. It's important to know what the issues are. It's important, and then make your own decision. And it's important for us to get the information out to you guys as well, so you can make an informed decision. Hi.
Hi, my question's about what goes on behind the scenes. Concerning guests, do you have input about who your guests are? What goes on behind the scenes in choosing your guests, and are they interviewed on tape at a decent time of day?
Define decent. A lot of them are live. Some of them are taped. Some after the show because that's when they're available. There are times when an author will come into town, but their plane doesn't arrive until 9:30. We're off the air by then. They rush over to the station. We'll interview them at 10 o'clock because they have a book signing that night, and then they're leaving. You know, so we got to get them when we can. Most of our guests are live. Most live in studio, and you can tell by the bags under their eyes.
But in terms of how we choose a guest, you know, usually it's, are they newsworthy? Are they going to be interesting to our average viewer, we have a team behind the scenes. You know, it's us definitely with our input, but we've got an executive producer there. We all have meetings after our shows. We've got segment producers as well, and we all talk about who do we think is going to be interesting. Sometimes, you know, we'll be pitched ideas. We'll be pitched guests constantly. And sometimes I'll think someone's interesting. He'll be like, you
Well,
know.
yeah. And there are a lot of times when, I mean, there have been many guests where, you know, one of the segment producers will say, what about so-and-so? And I'll say, I would love to talk to him, but I don't think our audience cares.
It's important to try to know your audience as best as you can. I mean, obviously you never really know who's watching, which is a scary thing. But you know, you try to appeal to as many people as you can, and you try to do what's the most interesting to as many people as you can. You try to be broad. But it's a good thing. I mean, I think we're very different in a lot of ways, but I think that actually helps our show, because I think certain things are interesting, he thinks other things are interesting, and hopefully we'll appeal to that many more people, you know, along the way. So.
And I think if you're enthusiastic about an interview, it comes through too. If you're totally bored by whatever the topic or whoever the guest is, that will come across. But if I'm arguing for a guest against everybody else, and they say, okay, fine, you get to interview this person, then it's my job to make the interview interesting.
Who is your average viewer?
Who's the average viewer? There is no average viewer. There's a target audience that is coveted by advertisers, and that is probably not the average viewer. The coveted target audience is 25 to 54 and has a pulse. And a Nielsen meter. But that's what the advertisers go for, because that's the most lucrative market. Those are the people who are in the stage of their lives when they are buying things that advertisers advertise, like cars. My mom and dad have had the same car for 13 years. You know, they're in their 80s, they don't buy cars anymore. My mom says, oh, we watch television. And I say, well, Mom, they don't care.
Just recently, Jane Fonda was on one of the morning stations and said the C word. And what is the most embarrassing situation y'all had to recover from where a guest said something untoward, and how'd you handle it?
You know, Peter Fonda started getting a little bit interesting. Do you remember that?
No.
You don't?
Yeah,
he was on probably 6 months or so ago, and he didn't realize that he was at a Fox station, and as soon as, and this was before he went on air, and as soon as he realized, and by the way, he's a very nice man, but right before he was about to go on air, he got really angry that he was at a Fox station because he doesn't like Fox News Channel, basically, and started kind of going on and on about Iraq and that sort of thing. And at one point during the interview, there were a couple moments where he did just kind of throw things like that in. You know, he started to kind of get a little political. He would just throw things in there, and you just try to steer him off course. You know, you just try to just bring him back to what the point is, as best you can.
You're here to talk about your low-budget movie,
yeah,
aren't you?
exactly. But that's what you try to do, you know, and get control of your interview. That's what you're told in Journalism 101, you know, always never let go of the microphone, because so you will be in control at all times. Gary Busey. Tell the Gary Busey story.
Well, Gary Busey came on and was, and for what reason I don't know, was going to do an Elvis song. He thinks he's quite the singer and plays the guitar. And so he came on, and we were intending to do, okay, introduce Gary Busey. He plays an Elvis song. I think it was Elvis's birthday, death day, whatever, something. And then we would go to break, and we would come back, and we would talk to Busey. And he did the first song, and he finished it, and we started to walk in, and we're applauding, and he starts a second song. And then he does a third song.
And we have to go to commercial.
And it is now, and our show ends at 9
We have
o'clock.
to go to commercial. There are no ifs, ands, or buts
Yeah,
about that.
there are two 2-minute commercial breaks that we still have to squeeze in, and it is now 8:57. That is now no longer possible. And so we just, basically the directors, I think they went to black and cut out in the middle of the performance, squeezed in as much of the commercial load as they could, wrote extremely apologetic notes to the people that have doors on their offices, and basically it was out of our control. And then Busey afterwards was so swacked that he began to explain to us, listen, I know what you guys were trying to do, play the song, go to break, come back and talk to me. But I think what I did was much better television.
He had a plan. He had a plan going in. And he had a microphone. So we couldn't get it away. Yeah, he was interesting. Yeah, but it happens. Live TV, you know.
You want a microphone, Barky?
Oh, no, I'm just
Okay.
listening.
You're just
Now
looking
back
lonely
here.
over there without something
Oh,
to
no,
read.
this is the audience's portion. I just want to say I'm well out of the 25 to 54 demo, unfortunately. I don't care if I watch it.